2 years ago, I was more than $100,000 in debt and had to lay off every single one of my employees of the influencer marketing agency that I founded. It was one of the lowest points of my life professionally, psychologically, and emotionally. Here's the story of how I paid off every last cent of that debt, reinvented myself as a sponsorship coach, and why I'm permanently shutting down my influencer marketing agency. I incorporated Trending Family in July 2015 after identifying what I felt was a big opportunity. My wife April and I had been on YouTube since 2009 and had quite a bit of experience working with tons of big name brands. We were making pretty good money from YouTube AdSense and sponsorships, but I was absolutely convinced that if we wanted to continue making a living as creators, we had to figure out a way to diversify our income. Sure, things were going great now, but what if we got demonetized? Or what if people stopped watching? Or what if we're not able to get as many sponsorships in a few years? I have this vivid memory of sitting with my friend Mike at a diner one day talking about potential ways to make extra income, and it just kind of hit me. Why don't I just try to get deals for other creators and charge brands a percentage to manage the campaigns? And I had a clever angle. There were all these big traditional brands in retail and consumer electronics and consumer packaged goods that really wanted to work with more influencers, but were just terrified. They had dabbled with a few campaigns here and there, but they didn't know how to find people who were wholesome, right? Who weren't swearing a ton in their content or posting risque pics. They just didn't want a PR crisis. It wasn't worth it to them. And so I thought, we have a bunch of vlogger friends who are family friendly. Why don't I just bring them up and offer to bring them business, right? They just have to let me put them in a deck essentially and say they're on my roster. By the way, I very specifically didn't offer to manage these creators. See, back then, creators kind of had PTSD from working with MCNs, or multi-channel networks, where they were locked into these absolutely awful multi-year contracts that were kind of predatory and exploitative. And so my logic was, I'm not even gonna touch that model. Besides, the brands and the advertising agencies have the money, so I'll just go to them. They'll be my customer, and I'll go to creators with money in hand and say, hey, do you wanna work with this brand? And to my surprise, it actually worked. I got around 30 creators to say, yeah, sure, send me deals. And so I set out pitching brands. And first, it was the brands that my wife and I were working with personally, right? So after we finished the campaign, I would just say, hey, it was so awesome working with you. Are you looking for other creators to partner with to help spread the word about your brand or your product? And since they had just had a great experience working with us, it wasn't that big of a stretch to imagine that we could provide the same level of service managing campaigns with other creators. I remember one agency early on gave me an RFP, which is a request for proposal for a campaign that they were planning. I had no idea what the heck I was doing, but I just figured it out, right? I think I made the first one in Microsoft Word, and I converted the proposal to a PDF, and it looks so terrible, but we won the deal. It was for $50,000. And I remember being absolutely floored by that. This agency is trusting me with this much money. That's insane, right? And I had to deliver. So my level of service was crazy. I answered emails within minutes, no matter when the client messaged me. I over-delivered on the amount of content from the creators, and it was honestly super exhilarating, right? I created this business from nothing, and it felt like it was really working. More and more brands and ad agencies started coming to us to the point where I simply couldn't do everything myself anymore. So I talked it over with my wife, April, and decided to hire my first full-time employee. And that was terrifying, right? It's no longer just me. This is another person who is relying on me for their livelihood. I really got to do this right. So my first employee helped with operations, right? Communicating with influencers back and forth. And then I hired another person to help with marketing and client services. It seemed like everything was going incredible. More and more money was coming in. At one point, we landed $500,000 in business in just a few weeks. And I just kept investing it back into the business. But alas, there was trouble on the horizon. See, in the beginning when I started, there was not a lot of people doing this. Anyone could put up a website and say they had an agency. I did that. But as more and more money started to flow from advertisers into this space, that caught the attention of investors who started pouring venture capital dollars into influencer platforms and marketplaces that promised to connect brands with creators. And these other companies started telling brands brands about their slick software dashboards. They had access to 1 million influencers. You could filter every single demographic or geography, or we use artificial intelligence to find the perfect influencer for your brand. And I got roped into that, thinking that our agency needed that too. So I hired a software developer and spent probably $50,000, seriously, making a dashboard for our clients to monitor how the campaigns were going. And more competitors kept entering the market. It started becoming extremely fractured, right? If a brand decided that they wanted to do influencer marketing, it was so difficult for them to differentiate between all the different agencies and platforms and companies that they could hire. And so I thought to myself, now is the right time to hire an experienced salesperson who has deep relationships in this industry. And that's exactly what I did. But experienced salespeople aren't cheap. And so I took out a line of credit because I was sure if we gave it some time, that would accelerate our growth and we'd be regularly pulling down these big 6-figure deals. But that just didn't happen. And it was just so frustrating that I was never able to round the corner with the agency, making it into this big profitable venture that I had always hoped it would be. And it became a situation where every deal we did for the agency was to pay payroll, which at its height was like $50,000 a month. And through it all, my wife, April, was my absolute rock. She always believed in me. She always supported all the investments that I made into Trending Family. And she worked her absolute butt off because remember, we were still doing sponsorships and vlogging and doing the whole thing. And she was just trusting in me that I knew what I was doing. And then COVID happened. If you remember that time, it felt like the world was falling apart. Not only were we terrified, along with the rest of the world, about the global health crisis, but we had a bunch of huge deals that were in the pipeline for the agency that just evaporated overnight. We also had several ongoing clients greatly shrink their budgets with us. And so I had absolutely no idea what to do. I saw no way out. I had this mountain of debt that I was planning on paying down with all those deals that we were counting on. I had employees who I absolutely adored that relied on me for their livelihood. And so after several torturous weeks, and after examining every single option to try to save the company, I decided instead of running it into the ground, I would use the money we had left to give my employees severance and give them more runway to find their next opportunity. It was one of the darkest times in my life. I just felt so defeated, right? I spent the last 5 years of my life working my butt off, working nights and weekends to try to get this business off the ground, and those dreams just crumbled in front of my eyes. I had no idea what the state of advertising, let alone influencer marketing, was gonna be for the foreseeable future. And so I spent the next month or two feeling really low. But I just kept thinking about this really unique perspective I had now. I was a creator who had been in the trenches for years doing deals, right? Still doing deals. But I now had this experience running the agency, right? I had seen behind the curtain of how these big agencies and these big brands form their marketing strategies and allocate hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars for influencer campaigns. Who else could say that? Not only that, I had now exchanged literally tens of thousands of emails with creators. I've seen it all, right? Every single issue that you could ever imagine come up during a campaign with a brand, right? Crazy reshoot requests, crazy brands, crazy creators, you name it. And I thought to myself, that's kind of interesting. Maybe I should film a few YouTube videos about some of the mistakes that I see creators making when they negotiate or when they're trying to pitch brands. And so that's exactly what I did. And people liked them. I got comments asking for more videos. People started DMing me, asking for help with specific negotiations. Then they started emailing me, right? I started reading creators' contracts just for fun to help them out. Again, I did not think at this time, oh, this is gonna be my new business. I just honestly loved the feeling of being useful again, feeling like myself again. And honestly, I was good at it. And then something really interesting happened. Creators started asking me if I had a course or if I could coach them one-on-one. And I was like, wait, what? You mean you actually wanna pay me for this advice? And that's when I realized there is this giant pool of creators from, let's say, 10,000 to 150,000 followers who aren't quite big enough yet to have a manager, but they're making money, right? And they need guidance. Why couldn't I be that person to help them navigate this whole confusing process working with brands? And so I doubled down. I started making more content about brand deals. I changed my title to sponsorship coach on Twitter, and I just went for it. Meanwhile, I still had all that debt from the agency that didn't magically disappear. And so slowly but surely, interest in running influencer campaigns started coming back, and a few of my old agency clients came back. And so over the last 2 years, I ran a bunch of campaigns all by myself, all the emails, all the contracts, everything. I'm not gonna lie, it's been absolutely exhausting, right? Doing deals, with my personal channel, with my wife, running campaigns for the agency, running my course and coaching for Creator Wizard. But as of 2 weeks ago, I made the final payment to pay off the debt and officially shut down Trending Family. A few close friends have actually asked me why I'm not restarting the agency, starting fresh and just giving it another shot. Well, there's 3 lessons that I've learned throughout this experience that I hope you'll take to heart when you're trying to make that next big decision in your creator journey. Number 1, are you being pulled or are you pushing? In the beginning of Trending Family, it felt like we were being pulled by the market. Lots of interest, lots of brands wanting to take meetings with us, lots of deals, and the money came pretty easily. But then things started getting harder. Then they started getting really hard, and it felt like instead of being pulled along, we had to push our way through the crowd to stand out. We had to push a boulder uphill to win these deals. And when you're doing a lot more pushing than pulling, it might be time to reassess if this path that you're currently on is the right one. The really interesting thing is with Creator Wizard, I have felt an absolutely incredible gravitational pull the entire time, and it feels like it's never gonna slow down. And so for now, at least, I'm strapping myself to this rocket ship and I'm gonna see where it takes me. And the second lesson is that you have to pick a lane. Over the last 2 years, where I've been running both the agency and Creator Wizard, I've had a bunch of situations where I would reach out to a creator about a paid sponsorship and they would say, "Oh my God, I love your Creator Wizard videos. I've been following you for a while. How much do you think I should charge for this opportunity?" I felt like I was talking out of both sides of my mouth. On the one hand, teaching influencers how to advocate for themselves and charge more money, and then on the other, trying to get the most efficient ad spend for my actual customer, who was the brand. And so ultimately, I decided that that situation was untenable and that I just had to pick a lane. And the third lesson is that if you want to have an impact, your mission has to live on without you. For a long time, I felt like the best way that I could have an impact was through the agency, right? Literally showing up to creators' doorsteps with just giant bags of money, right? And I was just catching fish and handing it to them. But with Creator Wizard, it's totally different. I'm teaching people how to fish now and helping creators everywhere build sustainable businesses for the long run. Even if I stop making videos or stop posting content, that knowledge is going to stay with them forever. And that is gonna be my legacy. So please consider subscribing, because I have a mission to help creators big and small land 1 million sponsorships by 2032. And I would love for you to be one of them.